This is not a conspiracy. I want you to listen to this news report. You're going to think, your friends will say, well, that's a conspiracy theory, because why? How come I haven't heard that anywhere? Well, listen to the story and you'll figure out why. A plan by the Federal Communications Commission to study how news organizations select stories has prompted 10,000 people to sign a petition saying no government monitors in our newsroom. That's according to the American Center for Law and Justice, which announced the petition Wednesday, said it reached that number within the first 2 hours. The agency announced a multi-market study of critical information needs last year, explaining that it wanted to understand the process of how stories are selected, what station priorities are, content production, populations, are they being served, perceived station bias, perceived percent of news dedicated to each of the critical information needs in a community. Jay Sekulow, chief counsel of the ACLJ, a conservative legal group, worried it can be used to intimidate certain news organizations into covering issues that government officials say are important. It's extremely troubling and dangerous development that represents the latest in an ongoing assault on the Constitution. We have seen a corrupt IRS unleashed on conservatives. We have seen an imperial president bypass Congress and change the law. The FCC only has jurisdiction over the broadcast industry and not the cable news or print publications. So networks, local stations, as well as most radio stations will be subject to evaluation. The radio station you're listening to right now, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the local progressive station is going to be targeted? Do you think that the local music station is going to be targeted? Or do you think the one that is broadcasting my voice right now is going to be targeted? You need to support your local radio stations and program directors and general managers. You need to stand up against this. You need to do this at the local grassroots level. Your radio station, your morning shows need to be all over this. Your afternoon shows need to be all over this. I know the pressures that you have already. I know the pressures of corporate. I understand pressures that you have on making every dollar count. I get it. I have, quite honestly, very little faith in some of the corporations in America, which is why, unfortunately, we started the Blaze Radio. Because I saw WOR Radio, a $150 million radio station, sell for $20 million. That somebody took a pretty big bath on that one. Now, how does somebody keep the doors open when radio station values are plummeting and you owe all of this money? I will tell you that radio corporations, I fear, will be no different than what Rick Santelli was talking about. They'll ask for a bailout. They'll need a bailout to be able to keep, and the government will be all too willing to say, you know, local radio, local television, it's too important to lose. And they will take those bailouts to keep those doors open, and the government will have its foot in the door.
And then they'll be able to dictate content. That's what they did.
That's exactly what happened with the states, with Common Core.
Yes.
It happens every time. This is their MO. This is what they're doing.
It's what happened with GM. It's what happened with AIG. Then once they got their foot in the door, then they could dictate what they built. For instance, the Volt. They dictated to GM, you're going to build a certain amount of these, and then we're going to have GE buy them.
And so you're going to have radio stations all over the country. Remember, the radio stations that went progressive, Clear Channel tried to do this because they're a capitalist company. They tried to do it. If there's such a demand for it, let's do it. They did it. They put it on the air, and they all failed.
Failed miserably.
They failed miserably.
Did not
Okay,
work.
so the government will then force them to put them on, and they will force to balance shows like mine. Shows like Rush. You will not hear radio stations have Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, and Sean Hannity, Mark Levin on the same station. Won't happen. Won't happen. They've got to break us apart. And if they break us apart, then the station can't be successful because the station can't have one day part and try to make all of its money there and then no listeners.
You got to be consistent.
It's got to have a flow. It's like, are you going to listen to a radio station? For instance, you go to Pandora. And if Pandora says, hey, by the way, you're going to listen to your favorite music for, this hour, but next hour, I'm going to play polka. Are you going to listen to Pandora? No, you're not going to. So, what happens? The objectives, according to the FCC, publicly released May 28, 2013, are to collect data to inform the access or potential barriers as identified by the FCC, the media that makes up media ecosystem, what media is actually included in the ecology, ownership of the market, what specific type of content dominates those media ecologies, what is the flow of information, the use and interaction between media that makes the media ecologies, how do different layers of the ecosystem interact to provide for the critical information needs of the community. How do the diverse individuals of diverse neighborhoods and communities differ in terms of access to critical information? They want to validate data collection, the tools, the templates, the protocols. They want to demonstrate high internal validity and reliability of the measured constructs. What the hell does that even mean?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. So that's what they're doing now, the FCC, and I'm telling you, I've done this my whole life. Even FDR and Woodrow Wilson did not do this. They would not have gotten away with it. Woodrow Wilson didn't do it because he didn't have radio and television, obviously. But FDR did not do this on the local radio stations. He would never have gotten away with it. But we will go to sleep, and we will be convinced that it's just a conspiracy theory and it doesn't matter. The broadcast voice matters. You cannot relegate it all to the internet. I know you say, well, I know, but we've got the internet, so no, because the next story that comes out is the Federal Communications said Wednesday it will again issue rules to prevent internet service providers from blocking or slowing down access to content providers that don't pay a toll to reach consumers. That's what they're saying this is about, but it's net neutrality. And the FCC is bringing net neutrality back again. As an entrepreneur that doesn't want, has never taken any kind of special gift from the government, I don't want special stuff. I don't need it. I want you out of my business. As an entrepreneur that is still losing money, but I'll never accept a handout from someone. I will never take money from the government, ever. As somebody who is building a news division, which, by the way, CBS News still to this day is financed partially by reruns of I Love Lucy. That's how expensive news is. The reruns of I Love Lucy, CBS still owns, and that money still goes to CBS News to help defray the cost of news. That's how expensive it is. As somebody who has just done For the Record, which is, these shows are extraordinarily expensive. As somebody who is doing that, I'm telling you right now, this is not what net neutrality is all about. Anybody, and this is extraordinarily important, that people find ways, and I can't do it, so don't call me. You've got to do it. You have all of the tools, podcasts. You can do your own videos. You can do everything yourself. You've got to find ways to show the youth of America that net neutrality, what they say they're doing, is an absolute lie. You've got to be an expert on net neutrality, and you have to get the word out. I'm no longer in a position to where I have to do all these things. You can. When radio hosts come to me and say, well, I really want to be a radio host and work on the Blaze radio and everything else, or I can't get a job in the industry. Why get a job in the industry? Start a podcast. When you get a podcast and you start actually putting some people into your podcast, when I see your downloads start to shoot up, I look at that list all the time. I look at who's doing the top podcasts in the country. I'll hire the top. You got it. I'll bring you over. By that time, you probably don't need me. And that's okay. But you don't need to be hired anymore. You always wanted to do radio. You've always wanted to be a journalist. You've never wanted to be a journalist. You've always wanted to be a filmmaker. You've always wanted to be a writer. Right. You don't need people in portals like me at this point. Those portals are important. The gathering places are important. But you can do it. You have everything that you need. Please educate yourself, your local stations, on this FCC nightmare. Go to the ACLJ website and sign their petition to stop this.
And what's interesting is a court of appeals already did. They stopped it, what was this, 2 years ago? A year and a half, 2 years ago? And they're bringing it back again.
ACLJ.com. Find out all about it. They released the information yesterday.